Your legs weren't working the way legs should. That specific dream physics, where running feels like moving through something thicker than air, and behind you, getting closer, the sound of something that wasn't going to stop. Not growling exactly, just pursuing with a focus that felt almost personal. You woke up mid-breath, heart already at full speed, the chase still happening somewhere behind your eyes. And the strangest part wasn't the fear. It was the guilt. This low, inexplicable guilt that had no business being there because you hadn't done anything wrong. It was just a dream. Except it didn't feel like just a dream. It felt like something that had been running at you for a long time finally catching up. I know this dream. Not because I've studied it, but because I ran from it for almost 2 years before I finally understood what was chasing me. And what I discovered changed how I understand loyalty, guilt, and the parts of ourselves we abandon when life gets difficult. It started during a period I can only describe as productive avoidance. I was busy in every visible way. Working longer hours than I needed to, filling evenings with plans I didn't particularly want, staying in motion the way you stay in motion when stopping feels dangerous. And every few nights, the dogs would arrive in my sleep. Always different dogs. Sometimes one, sometimes a pack, sometimes enormous, sometimes just ordinary neighborhood dogs with extraordinary focus. But always the same quality of pursuit, relentless, not vicious, but absolutely unwilling to be outrun. I would wake up exhausted, as if I'd actually been running, which, in a way, I had been. For months, I interpreted the dream the obvious way. Something threatening was pursuing me, something I needed to escape, something dangerous closing the distance. And I spent enormous energy trying to identify the external threat, the difficult colleague, the complicated family dynamic, the financial pressure. I cycled through every candidate systematically. And none of them felt like the right answer, because the fear in the dream wasn't the fear of something wanting to hurt me. It was the fear of something wanting to reach me. Here's where everything shifted. I finally stopped asking what was chasing me and started asking what dogs are. Not as symbols, but as actual beings in relationship with humans. Dogs are loyalty made biological, the only creature on earth that chose humans so completely that it rewired its own evolution to stay close to us. They read our emotional states with accuracy that often exceeds our own self-awareness. They grieve our absences, celebrate our returns, maintain attachment across distances and separations that would dissolve most bonds. And most significantly, for this dream symbol, they find us. Even when we hide, even when we run, even when we have made ourselves deliberately difficult to locate, the dog finds its person. Because that's not just instinct, it's devotion operating at the level of instinct. So, when a dog chases you in a dream, the spiritual question is never, what is this creature trying to do to me? It's, what part of myself is so devoted to reaching me that it's been pursuing me through my own sleep. It was a Thursday evening, unremarkable in every other way. I was sitting with a journal I hadn't opened in months, and I wrote a single question at the top of an empty page. What have I been running from that loves me? And sat with the discomfort of that question for a long time. Because the running made a different kind of sense once I framed it that way. We don't usually run from things that want to harm us in our dreams, not in that specific texture of guilt-edged pursuit. We run from things that want something from us that we don't feel ready to give, things that know us too well to be fooled by our performances, things that carry the memory of who we were before we became strategic about who we showed people. And sitting with that question, the answer arrived with the specific ache of recognition. I had been running from my own abandoned creative life, from the version of myself that had made things, written things, built things for no reason except that it needed doing. And somewhere in that abandonment, I had left something behind that kept finding its way back into my dreams, chasing me with the persistence of something that refused to accept the abandonment as final. Dogs in spiritual traditions across cultures carry one consistent meaning above all others: faithfulness that outlasts circumstances. In Egyptian mythology, Anubis, the jackal-headed god, was the faithful guide of souls through transformation, present at the most disorienting threshold a being could cross. In Greek mythology, Cerberus guarded the boundary between worlds, not to imprison, but to maintain the integrity of transitions. In Celtic tradition, hounds were considered guides between the seen and unseen worlds, companions who could navigate what humans found disorienting. Every tradition places the dog at the threshold, at the boundary, at the place where one thing becomes something else. And this is the spiritual precision of this dream symbol. The dog chasing you isn't pursuing you from behind. It's trying to catch you up to a threshold you keep running past without crossing. A transition that requires you to stop, turn, and acknowledge what's been following you before you can move forward into what's actually next. That guilt that arrives with this dream, the one that makes no logical sense because you haven't done anything wrong in waking life, deserves its own examination. Because guilt in dreams doesn't always map to wrongdoing. Sometimes it maps to abandonment, the specific ache of having left something or someone without a proper goodbye, without acknowledgement, without honoring what it was before you walked away from it. Think about the parts of yourself you've quietly retired without ceremony. The passion that felt impractical and got slowly deprioritized into non-existence. The friendship that faded because maintenance felt like too much during a difficult season. The version of yourself that had a particular quality, openness, wildness, tenderness, certainty, that slowly got edited out of your presentation. You didn't decide to leave these things. You just kept running toward the next thing, and the next, and the next. Until one day, you look back and they were very far behind you. And they've been running to catch up ever since. Appearing in your dreams because that's the only place they can still find you slowed down enough to reach. This is the reframe that changes everything about this dream. A threat wants to take something from you. A summons wants to give something back. And the dogs in this dream are not threatening, even when they feel terrifying. They are summoning, calling you back to something, towards something, asking you to stop long enough to receive what they've been carrying across the distance you've created. Think about what actually happens in these dreams. The dogs rarely catch you. You always wake before the contact happens, which means the dream keeps replaying not because it ends badly, but because it keeps ending before the resolution that would finally complete it. The dog reaching you isn't the catastrophe your dreaming mind treats it as. It's the moment the summons is answered. And the reason you keep waking before it happens is that some part of you isn't ready yet to receive what it's been carrying. The last time I had this dream was different from every other time. I was aware inside the dream in a way I hadn't been before. That strange lucid quality where you know you're dreaming but don't wake, just watch with a kind of participatory awareness. And somewhere in the middle of the chase, I stopped. Not heroically, not with any plan, just exhausted in the way you get exhausted from running from the same thing over and over in your own sleep. I turned around, and the dog stopped too. About 3 feet away, breathing hard, watching me with eyes that held no aggression whatsoever. Just relief, the specific exhausted relief of something that has been pursuing for a very long time and has finally been allowed to arrive. It came forward slowly and put its head against my hand. And I understood in the way dreams communicate beyond language that it had been carrying something for me the entire time. Not a threat, a return. The part of myself I had abandoned during the productive avoidance years, finally finding its way back into my hands. I haven't had the dream since. If dogs have been chasing you through your sleep, here is what's worth sitting with, honestly. The dogs are loyal to something in you. Something you may have decided was impractical or inconvenient or too much to maintain during a difficult season. Something that didn't accept the retirement you assigned it. Because genuine parts of yourself don't retire. They wait, they gather, they eventually find you in your sleep where your defenses are down and your running finally slows. And they chase you not with aggression, but with the relentless devotion of something that knows exactly who you are beneath the person you've been performing. So what has been running to catch you? What abandoned part of yourself has enough loyalty to pursue you through your own dreams rather than simply accepting the distance you've created? What would happen if you stopped, turned around, and finally let it reach you? The dream doesn't need to keep repeating. It replays because it hasn't yet been answered. And the answer isn't a dream technique or a spiritual practice or a complex interior excavation. It's simpler and harder than any of those things. It's turning around in waking life, in the actual rooms of your actual days, and acknowledging what you've been moving away from with such consistency that it has had to resort to chasing you through your sleep just to get your attention. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to know what reconciliation with the abandoned part of yourself looks like in practical terms. You just have to stop, turn, and let the thing that has been faithful enough to chase you across years of sleep finally find its way back into your hands, where it belonged all along. If dogs have been chasing you through your dreams and something in this finally named what the running has been about, comment "I turned around" below and subscribe to Dreamwalker Journeys. Because sometimes what pursues us most relentlessly through the night is simply the most loyal part of ourselves, refusing to let us leave without it.